My name is John Yin, and the topic of my infographic are jellyfish, and the title is called Beware of the Jelly. So here's my final infographic. I won't go too deep into the whole infographic itself because I'll show each display one by one to show a story of why I chose my title Beware of the Jelly. And towards the end, we're going to bring it all back together and show how they fit and how the story is told. But before I do that, I'm going to show you the models I tried to emulate for my infographic. The color model can be shown on the left, and there are three distinct colors that pop out immediately that I'll try to use throughout my infographic. It is a light blue, a light gray, and a dark gray. There are some incorporations of black and a little different shade of gray, but it's very minuscule, so I tried to just focus on the main three colors. The typography model is shown on the right, and this one is I tried to go through, and I realized that this was just one font, and I decided to go with Quicksand Light. But with what the font actually turned out, there was a better font that matched up with this, but it cost money, so I decided to go with alternative that worked just as well. Throughout this typography model, there's mixed caps, all caps, and lowercase, uh, and it varied quite a bit. So you couldn't really choose which one to go with because even the labels had different types of fonts or mixed caps and all uppercase. So I could choose technically whatever I wanted to. And there are some size encodings within this typography model, but it was also variant, as in it had some percentages that were larger than others, but then in other displays with this infographic, uh, the percentages didn't really match up with the size. So, but I actually tried to include some type of size encoding within my infographic. So here's my visual language model on the left, and as you can see, it is mostly icons or simplistic images throughout the whole graphic, and very minuscule realistic ones, which are on towards the top, which as you can see is Africa and then Kenya. Um, so I try to include a lot of icons throughout my displays, and a little bit of realistic to match really well. As you can see on the layout model on the right, you can see that the headers are full width and then have sections to separate them from others, which I also tried to emulate. So here's my first display, the appearance display. I'm also going to try and go through each display as it is shown within the infographic so that I could kind of show you how this story develops and then bring it all together towards the end when I show you the final infographic to show you the reasons why I chose it. But here's my appearance display. It depicts a realistic image of a jellyfish, specifically the sea nettle, which tends to be on the east coast of the US, but also around the world. This is particularly the Cyphozoan species, which you'll find out more about later in my displays. But I decided to go with a realistic image of the jelly because originally I had him as the simplistic one, as more of an icon-like, but I realized that I was kind of using that quite a bit, and I wanted to include some variants, so I decided to create a silhouette with no outline of a realistic jelly. Uh, Within my visual language model, however, the realistic images had outlines uh, within the actual image, which is if you can remember, the Africa shown before, but there aren't technically any inner outlines within a jellyfish to actually show. I was critiqued that might want to include them in the inside legs or tentacles, but after I tried that, it did look kind of awkward, mostly because the tentacles itself are actually the whole border on the outside of the jelly, so it was kind of weird to include them. So I decided to just go with a flat, realistic image of the jellyfish without any outlines. And on my color model, the light blue is used a lot more than the gray. But because uh, the rest of my display is mostly blue, as to depict the images, I decided to make this inverted and also put into my header, and I think it popped out very well. So here's my location display. This display shows the largest jellyfish bloom locations around the world, and I tried to incorporate this with my title, Beware of the Jelly, by showing why these jellyfish bloom locations affect the areas they're in, and why to be wary of them. As you can see, I include some descriptions for these locations, but I didn't include them for every location. Although I did want to originally, but after I did include them, there was just way too much text throughout this display. And I already have a good amount of text throughout my whole infographic, so I decided to just, include a few important ones, and that could technically be translated to other locations. Um, but as you can see, Gulf of Mexico had a 10,000 square mile bloom. Australia has a sea wasp, which is the fourth most venomous animal in the world. Uh, and I try to show why and how these jellyfish can, interact with these ecosystems or industries and whatnot. As you can see, the header I have on the left says, make sure to stay away from blooms. And after reading my infographic as a whole, or even just these descriptions, you realize, how they tie in with everything that's shown. If you wouldn't want to be swimming in a 10,000 square mile bloom with a bunch of sea wasps, because it can technically be fatal. You don't want that. Uh, so, I just try to show reason throughout my whole infographic story why people should be wary of jellyfish. I also try to emulate my visual language model with my countries, as you can see. They're very realistic. Um, although my visual language model has inner outlines within the countries, I decided to move them because in that infographic, it made sense to split the territories up. But with mine, you don't really need to know anything about the territories within these land masses because jellyfish are underwater creatures, and it would just be unnecessary to include this outlines that was unneeded. So I decided to remove them. I also tried to emulate my visual language model with the pointers shown. Um, they're actually shown with the realistic images in the visual language model, so I think it turned out very well to match up with this display with the locations as well. I also try to include size encoding, as you can see with the light blue circles. These might not actually be the size of the blooms, but I try to make them the impact that these blooms had on these areas. As you can see, Niambia is the biggest circle, and its description is total jellyfish weight was 4 times that of all the fish in that area, which is humongous to think about. But also, if you read deeper into it, description of the Niambia actually had, I think, over 50,000 square mile bloom, which is huge. But I try to include these size encodings for each location of just the total impact that these jellyfish bloom locations had. One particular, I guess, is Black Sea had 350 million in losses of the fishing and touring industry. As you can see, the size encoding for the light blue circle is almost spanning that whole sea. And that's because jellyfish really impacted the Black Sea itself. As you can see, $350 million in losses. I also believe that in each cubic meter of the sea, there are around 1,000 fist-sized comb jellies. And if you think about it, that's just an enormous amount within 1 cubic meter throughout the whole Black Sea. So I tried to show that that was a very big thing for the Black Sea. As you can see, also trying to incorporate a textured background. As you can see, mine is actually water, which on the visual language model itself had a textured background. But mine, I actually had an original color of water, like the lines within a little wavy water. But I grayscaled it and then inverted it to make this display. And that's throughout my whole infographic. So here's my time display. This display shows what happens when you're stung by Australia's box jelly. This display as a whole emulates my visual language model pretty closely, as the visual language model itself, the whole infographic is this path looking thing. And I just try to incorporate with just this display. Each image, as you can see, is quite simplistic and icon-like, which emulates my visual language model pretty closely. I also decided to include precision labels that are very similar to the ones in my visual language model. As you can see, there's a little icon at the beginning and then the label behind it. And as you can see, the label itself has like a thinner font weight for the time and then a thicker one for the PM. And that's because in my visual language model, Uh, it separated words through font weight instead of spaces, so I try to include that with this one as well. I also initially tried to include uh, kind of time encoding, I guess, uh, between each step to match the time length. But then it turned out that it just didn't make as much sense uh, because my pointers were pointing to uh, different sides of the icons, and it was messing up with alignment quite a bit. So I decided to keep the alignment instead of the actual time encoding because it looked much better. As you can see, I also include a header that says, around 100 people die each year to box jellies. Uh, I include this because this path that you take from a time display shows, what happens when you are stung. Um, but not everyone is as lucky as most people, and some people have died through these things. But so I just make sure that to tell people that hey, this is possible. But mine just shows anecdotal evidence from me when I got stung. I've also found sources for other people who got stung, and this is how usually the time permits. So here's my display for the relationship, and this display shows the life cycle of jellyfish. This is towards the end of my infographic, and this is just to give more of a foundational information for the reader, because you have to understand how these jellyfish live and how they're separated to understand the infographic as a whole. As you can see, I have the different process relationships within each phase of how a jellyfish grows up. As you see, number one is planula, which is larva. And I try to include like a description for a normal reader to understand what these phases mean. And planula is important to the rest of the display because these bloom locations are spanning huge amounts of distances with many different types of jellyfish. And that's particularly because an adult jellyfish can lay, I think, around 10,000 eggs per day. That's a humongous amount. And that's how jellyfish bloom locations become to be, because there's so many jellyfish in certain locations, it just keeps them growing and growing. But I tried to just show this relationship between each stage, and this life cycle is particularly the Cyphosome life cycle. Um, in my next display, that's right next to this in the actual final infographic, shows the distribution of jellyfish. Cyphozoan is true jellyfish, and then there are two other main jellyfish groups, but I'll go into that next display. But with this, I've tried to implement a visual language model with flat icons, very simplistic. And as you can see, instead of precision labels, this is an identity label. Uh, it matches my visual language model well, as shown in the time display, with the icon, or I guess numbers in this one in the front, and then the label actually right behind it. So here is my number display. With this, I show the distribution of different types of species of jellyfish, and I include this because it kind of ties in the other displays together. I've shown the Cyphosome before throughout my display, and that's the true jellyfish. Um, I show this within the previous display, which is the life cycle one, because that shows the Cyphosome life cycle. I also show it within my appearance display at the very top of the infographic, which is a Cyphosome species called sea nettle. And then also include box jelly, which is a different species that is different from the true jellyfish, which is called Cubozoa. And I include this in the other two displays, which are the time and location displays. In the location display, uh, I mentioned Australia's box jelly is the fourth most venomous animal in the world. I also show in the time display the general timeline of the sting of a box jelly. So this one just kind of just puts more information to the reader and connects the different displays together. I also try to include size encoding in this display with the numbers. As you can see, the 200 is larger than the 50, and the 50 is larger than the 36. This matches my typography model because there are a lot of variants of size encoding through the typography model. So I'll try to match up as closely with that as possible. I also try to emulate my color model as well. In this one, since I had three main groups, I try to play around with the colors. Initially, my three main colors were light blue, dark gray, and light gray. In this one, I have 2 out of 3 emulated very well. The only third one is the light gray, which I decided not to include in this donut, mostly because the background itself is all light gray. So I wanted to include a little variance, and also because my code model had only one display in the color model that had this off blue. I only included this off blue in just this display itself. So that was very important to include. I also included these small icon simplistic images of each species. As you can see, the cube zone has a box jellyfish, which looks a little bit cubular, I guess. Also, you can see the tentacles are much different than a true jellyfish icon, which actually emulates it very well. The stock jellyfish is also shown. It's a little bit difficult to show without it being connected to an outline, but I just decided to include the stock instead of the actual, I guess, ground it is on, just to make the whole infographic come as a whole better. I also include a small description for each jellyfish as an identity label to just give the reader an idea of each species. So here's my final infographic, combining as a whole. We just went through each display one by one, in order, and now we're just connecting them to tell a story of why to beware of the jelly. At the very top, I tried to include a description of how these jellyfish could interact with areas or even people and how they can be dangerous. I also tried to include a visual hierarchy with each display. The first display shows jellyfish bloom locations and immediately how these jellyfish can be dangerous to areas. And the next display shows more of a physical dangerousness to jellyfish, shows the jellyfish sting and how they can be very painful and even fatal. And the next towards the bottom are lower on the hierarchy because they're more just foundational and educational to the reader to connect the rest of the displays as a whole. How the life cycle shows, how a jellyfish can lay 10,000 eggs in one day, and that relates to the bloom locations, how bloom locations become the bee. And then the foundations of jellyfish and the distribution of species are then translated into how cyphozone species, which are shown in the life cycle, and also the appearance display at the very top. And then the box jelly, which is the Cubozoa species, relates to Australia's box jelly sting, shown in the time display. So it just brings it all together. And I try to emulate my layout model pretty closely. As you can see, the headers span the full width. Unlike my visual language model, which doesn't actually have dividing headers, I kind of had to create my own because there wasn't any in the previous visual language model. In the visual language model, I chose the dividers where it was like the actual path, similar to my second display when you're studying by Australia's box jelly. So I had to decide a way to create my own. I tried to incorporate the circular ended headers, as you can see coming from the side in my first and second display. I tried to incorporate that as my full length header, but it just didn't look as nice. And because of the curved ends, there were gaps in between each display, and it just didn't look as clean as I would like. So I decided to go with the layout model and have the header span the full width. And then also obviously underneath each header was a section divided. In my bottom two displays has a dashed line divider, which was also my layout display, which I incorporated because it looked very nice. And my visual language model didn't really have a divider. So that's my whole infographic. I also want to include the alignment within my infographic. I try to include two sides, the left and the right. My first model, the location one, doesn't really follow as well because it's more of a world map. But I try to emulate it on my title. As you can see, the appearance display is on the left side, and then the title and description on the right side. I try to align that as closely as I could with my other displays. As you can see in my time display, um, yeah, the headers on the right side are aligned, and then there's a left side that you can see that are try to be aligned as well. And then the bottom displays also split, with left and right. So I tried to include some alignment because my layout model also had more of a two-sided alignment, and so I tried to emulate that as well. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and I thank you for a great quarter.